If you've been scrolling through endless product pages, watching video after video, and still feel stuck on whether an overhead lab mixer is worth the desk space and the budget, you're not alone. The decision feels especially heavy when you're dealing with high viscosity samples that just won't swirl in a cheap magnetic stir bar, and the fear of ending up with a motor that sputters out after a week looms large. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon, and I'm going to walk through why the R100 overhead stirrer from Goldleaf Scientific might finally give you a clear answer. First off, let's talk about the kind of labs that actually need an overhead stirrer. If you're running a chemistry teaching lab where the biggest challenge is keeping a thick polymer solution moving for a couple of minutes, you could probably get away with a handheld vortexer. But if you're in a research setting where you're constantly pulling up viscous reaction mixtures, cell culture media with high serum content, or even crude extracts that behave more like mud than water, an overhead unit becomes a practical necessity. The R100 is positioned squarely in that niche. It's built to handle the toughest liquids while staying simple enough that a graduate student can set it up without a technician's manual. Ease of operation is one of the advertised strengths, and it's not just marketing fluff. The unit comes with a straightforward digital timer and speed dial, both displayed on a clear LCD panel. In practice, that means you can dial in 250 revolutions per minute for a slow, gentle swirl of a gelatin solution, then bump it up to 1,200 revolutions per minute for a rapid homogenization of a polymer melt without hunting through menus. The timer lets you program a 30-minute run, walk away, and return to a perfectly mixed sample. I've seen this workflow in real labs where technicians set the stirrer, step out to log data, and come back to a uniformly mixed batch. No need to keep an eye on a magnetic stir bar that might slip out of the beaker. Safety is another area where the R100 tries to stand out. There's an automatic shutoff feature that kicks in if the motor detects an overload, which is a relief when you're dealing with a reaction that suddenly thickens beyond expectations. The design also includes a protective housing around the motor, reducing the risk of accidental contact with moving parts. For anyone who has ever had a glove caught in a spinning shaft, that extra layer of protection can be the difference between a minor inconvenience and a lab injury. Longevity is a claim that often gets tossed around without proof, but the R100's construction hints at a longer service life. The motor is a sealed unit, which protects it from the occasional splatter of corrosive reagents that can ruin an open-frame design. In the labs I've spoken with, the biggest complaint about older overhead stirrers is the wear on bearings and the need for frequent recalibration. The R100 sealed motor and robust bearing housing suggest fewer maintenance intervals, which translates into real cost savings over the years, especially in busy research environments where downtime equals delayed publications. Now, let's be honest about the trade-offs. The R100 is an electric stirrer, so you're tied to a power outlet. There's no battery backup for an emergency run during a power flicker. The unit's footprint is also something to consider. The base and the arm take up a decent amount of bench space, so if you're working in a cramped fume hood, you'll need to plan the layout carefully. Additionally, the speed range, while adequate for most high-viscosity applications, tops out around 1,500 revolutions per minute, so it won't replace a high-speed vortex mixer for ultra-fine emulsions. If your work demands that kind of rapid shear, you'll still need a secondary device. Who should buy the R100? In short, any lab that routinely mixes thick suspensions, polymer solutions, or high-viscosity media and values a hands-free, set-and-forget approach. It's a solid match for academic research groups, biotech startups, and quality control labs where repeatability is key. The digital timer and speed control also make it attractive for teaching labs, where instructors want students to focus on the chemistry rather than fiddling with knobs. If you fall into any of those categories, the R100 will likely pay for itself by reducing the time you spend manually swirling beakers and by cutting down on failed mixes due to inadequate stirring. Conversely, if you're only handling low-viscosity solvents or need a portable solution that can hop from bench to bench, you might be better off with a magnetic stir plate or a handheld homogenizer. The R100's strength is in the heavy lifting. It's not the most economical choice for occasional light mixing. Also, labs that require ultra-high speeds for nanoparticle synthesis or for creating fine emulsions will find the speed ceiling limiting. In those cases, pairing the R100 with a dedicated high-speed mixer would make more sense than relying on a single piece of equipment. One practical strength that often goes unnoticed is how the R100 handles cleaning. The stir bar itself is detachable, and the motor housing,